Okay, this meeting will now commence at 6:03 p.m. The first order of business is roll call. May we please commence roll call?
Yes, absolutely. 1 second. So to begin, student trustee Bravo. Student trustee Bravo absent. President Kumar.
Here.
Kumar present. Vice President Ahmed.
Present.
Ahmed present. Treasurer Nia Manuri.
Present.
Nia Manuri present. Chief of Staff Omen. Omen absent. Chairwoman Hamad.
Present.
Hamad present. Chairwoman El Adawi.
Present.
El Adawi present. Chairwoman Nadala.
Present.
Nadala present. Chairwoman Ovide.
Present.
Ovide present. Chairwoman Show.
Present.
Show present. Speaker of the House Stancheva.
Present.
Stancheva present. Representative Petineo.
Here.
Petineo present. Representative Oyefeso. Representative Oyefeso. Oyefeso absent. Representative Nehi. Representative Jada Nehi.
She said in the chat that she's present.
Awesome. Nehi present. Representative Aranda Ortiz.
She has excused absence.
Thank you. Representative Taylor.
Present.
Taylor present. Representative Abdel Salam. Representative Malak Abdel Salam. Abdel Salam absent. Representative Selvaraj.
Present.
Selvaraj present. Representative Almendras.
Present.
Almendras present. Representative B.
Present.
B present. Representative Fernandez.
Present.
Fernandez present. Representative Villa Gomez. Representative Misty Villa Gomez. Villa Gomez absent. Representative Hack. Representative Mohamed Hack. Hack absent. Representative Nguyen.
Present.
Nguyen present. Representative Bilba Sigamani.
Present.
Bilba Sigamani present. Representative Khan.
Present.
Khan present. Representative Malik.
Present.
Malik present. Representative Ovide. Oh, sorry, it's repeated in the agenda. So Representative Henry.
Present.
Henry present. And finally, Representative Chrisman.
Present.
Chrisman present. And that concludes roll call.
Thank you. So the next order of business is reading and approval of the minutes. So as you guys remember from last week, we were not able to present any minutes last week. So this week we are presenting the minutes for November 23rd, which is the last meeting of the last semester, as well as presenting the minutes for the previous meeting for January 25th. Please take a look at both and let us know if there are any changes. And then if anybody could present. Thank you.
Is this visible or should I zoom?
Maybe zoom a little bit.
Are there any amendments to the minutes? If there are no amendments, then the minutes will stand as approved. The next order of business is reading and approval of the agenda. Please take this time to read over the agenda. Are there any corrections to the agenda? All right, if not, then the agenda will stand as approved. The next order of business is public comment. Do we have any public comment? All right, if not, then we can move on to the next order of business, which is guest speakers. So, Bayan, would you like to introduce our first guest speakers?
Yeah, of course. So today we have Dr. Zatari and Sara Hassan from the Arab American Culture Center. They will be presenting for us about a project they've been working on, and they will be launching a campaign, a social media campaign for it. And I will be presenting a resolution to support what they will be presenting today. So Dr. Zatari and Sara, please go ahead.
Thank you, Bayan. Thank you, everybody. So my name is Zaina Zatari, and I'm the director of the Arab American Cultural Center at UIC. And can I share my screen? I have a short PowerPoint. Oh, I can share it. Okay, so. You let me know if you can see it, okay?
I can see it.
Okay, great. And so, as Bayan mentioned, we wanted to talk to you a little bit today about our campaign and what are some of the things that we've been hearing from our student population. And so, to do that, I wanted to just do a quick introduction as to what we consider the sort of the Arab world or Middle East and North Africa, and to explain that the countries that we consider Arab are countries that were members of the Arab League, but that when we think of the Middle East, North Africa, that can include other non-Arabic speaking countries, and also folks that live in Arab countries but do not identify as Arab, do not consider themselves ethnically or linguistically as Arab. And that to kind of like speak historically about the influx of migrants into the United States, from the 1880s, we start seeing an escalation of migration waves that are often seen as chain migration, people coming from the same village or the same town. They come and populate in very specific communities here and bring their relatives and whatnot. But the Muslim kind of Muslim migration has been recorded even kind of earlier than that, right? Particularly if we think of a percentage of the African Americans that were enslaved and brought to the United States were also Muslim. But Chicagoland in particular is one of the places that has a very large Arab American population, while, and I'll mention that later, while data is really difficult to fully come by, but the estimations is that Chicagoland's home, to a large number of Arab American population, possibly the fourth after some of these other large cities, but certainly the largest Palestinian community in the US. And we see that reflected in the kind of students that we have on our campus as well. And so speaking about categorizations and racial categories, a lot of what we see on campus follows obviously the census classification historically. And it is important to note that the census was used as a tool of white power historically, primarily to kind of ensure that only specific kinds of people can become citizens in the United States. And so initially, it aimed to negate full personhood to Black folks. But then, as more people from different backgrounds started coming, they were also creating new regulations and new census categories that aim to continue to exclude other folks who may, are not necessarily white, but also not necessarily of African heritage. But we also see that a lot of people wanted access to their citizenship rights, and so began kind of pushing the courts to create to be included in this categorization. And so between 1902 and 1923, there were several cases brought to the courts to try and claim that people from the Middle East, they were called Syrians, they were called Turks, regardless of where they came from, were not white. Were white, to make that claim so that they can become then full citizenship and have access to ability to purchase property, to register property, to own businesses, etc. And eventually, one of these cases was one on appeal. At the same time, few other cases in different states were rejected, but that led the United States to eventually ensure that Arabs were included under the category white in the census. And I would say soon after that process happened, people began, especially with the impact of the civil rights movement, began really challenging that categorization because there was a sense that by classifying Arabs as white, the federal government was basically denying them from acquiring much needed public resources, having the capabilities to mobilize their community against discriminatory policies, access data about all sorts of things in relation to who they are. So, the last census that we just had did not have a special category for MENA. And so a lot of organizations felt that we lost a chance to be able to have information that can help us more fully identify our communities and their needs and be able to advocate. So we feel similarly on campus that we want to be able to do those. And Arab and Arab Americans are both hyper visibilized and racialized, and at the same time invisible. So by being categorized as white, they are kind of invisible. They don't have a category of their own, and that sort of hides and masks the racialized violence that they experience on a daily basis. A lot of Arabs and Muslims became even more hyper visibilized in the context of 9/11 and the global war on terror. And that had continued, and we saw a lot of that also recently with the raise in hate crimes and white supremacist groups in the country with the Trump presidency. So on campus, we know we've had a very long history of Arab American organizing, and students. Obviously, we are actually creating an archival project that gathers the stories of student organizing across generations here on the UIC campus. And we know of the efforts of Arab and Arab American students by the fact that we actually have an Arab American Cultural Center, because it was the students who argued and organized and advocated for the creation of such a center. And so, which is the first and only cultural center on a campus in the United States. And so that speaks volumes to like UIC recognizing that there is a growing community and that this community needs to be not just represented, but also the issues that it faces need to be challenged on campus. And so that's why we were formed, to affirm the diverse needs of Arab American students, increase awareness about Arab American cultures and histories, and build community and solidarity. And so we do that through a number of different programs. But it is challenging because every time we're trying to say, you know, we would really like to have more, for example, counselors supporting our students who speak Arabic or are of this Arabic background, or have language skills. You know, we're often being told, well, like, how many students are we talking about? Who are your students? What their needs? But we don't have access to these kinds of information because we don't have this specific category. And so we conducted a survey last semester of Arab MENA Muslim students on campus. We were hoping to learn more information about needs and challenges to be able to better advocate. And so in the end, we received over 1,200 respondents. Majority of whom were Muslim and also of Palestinian background. As you know, as I mentioned earlier, this is the largest community in Chicago. But we also got clear picture that more than 60% of the students at UIC, they disagree with being categorized as white in university data. And we also saw that there are a number of underlying other challenges, including worry about the university being able to provide culturally appropriate mental health services, you know, where and if the university can actually effectively address issues, discrimination, microaggressions that they face, or feeling that their campus faculty and staff are knowledgeable about their backgrounds that they can then adequately support. And so that raises a lot of issues for us. So, at the same time, Sarah came to us with a specific experience that she had, which she'll talk about, and that, helped us begin our process of working towards this campaign. So Sarah, do you want to jump in?
Sure, thank you so much. Yeah, so making the case. So my experience, along with other conversations that students have also had with the center, that's what prompted the Arab American Cultural Center to try to address this issue of not having our own category. So for context, back in March, I was applying for a scholarship, and before turning it in, it had asked me to indicate my race and my ethnicity. And like before doing so, I noticed that this was already indicated for me, and it said that I identified as being white. So, I was confused and frustrated, to say the least. So I decided to go to an office to have them address this issue or fix this issue. And they told me they couldn't fix it. So rather than just being upset about it, I decided to go speak with a very kind mentor that I have, who then connected me to Dr. Zaatari about this. And so I had let her know what happened, and that's what really prompted us to work on this campaign. And I knew that me sharing my story, I knew that I wasn't the only one who's experienced feeling invisible like on this campus, and I wanted to raise awareness on this issue because something inside me just said, like, I must have not been the only person who's had this issue of marking down white on an application. And it was just really disheartening to see, at a university that prides itself on like diversity and inclusion. It's one thing to be a diverse campus, but inclusion is totally different. They're not synonymous. They're not the same thing. You can have a diverse demographic group of people, but if they're not included, like, you're not really achieving your mission of fostering and welcoming a sense of belonging to any and all identities, and so I just thought that this was a very important issue that needed a lot of attention. And so this motivated me to start interviewing people and listen to their stories and experiences, because I wanted to have their stories shared as well. So in doing that, I interviewed around 40 students who were from the UIC campus and other campuses as well, such as the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I've heard from their experiences, and almost all of them, if not all of them, have told me that they found a problem with having to identify as white because it erases the struggles and the history that they've experienced, and it bars them from applying to minority-centered scholarships, and it just raises a lot of like issues as well. So that's why I wanted to address this. And in our process of trying to advocate for this category, we've spoken with many different schools to hear about their campaigns into trying to implement a MENA category at their institutions as well. And it's really helped to speak to all these different institutions. And we've also done our research, and we've had different meetings with UIC administration, as well as students and faculty of those who attend UIUC, just to get a better idea of what they've been doing or what they've been trying to do to implement this category as well. And this leads me to my next point to summarize on why this is important. So, the Arab American Cultural Center seeks to advocate for and serve students, Arab American students, and and we would like to better understand how MENA students are on campus, like how they're doing on campus. And if we don't have the numbers to like know the number of students that are on campus, we can't really help them out, we would like to really know what their challenges are and how they succeed as well. And in doing so, we would like to provide for them academic support through possible tutoring and mentorship support opportunities. And also, for instance, knowing how many students would allow us to help them out with financial aid opportunities as well as scholarship opportunities. And this could help us identify potential donors and create more scholarships for them. Because, people think that we're white and, we have the same like privileges as like European counterparts when we don't. And so we need those numbers to help best serve our students. And the lack of representation, as Dr. Zakhtari mentioned, this further institutionalizes the invisibility that Arab Americans face. And that's a huge problem because, as we mentioned before, it erases the struggles, our identity, as well as the culture that we have. And erasing this category or not really including it avoids addressing implicit biases that people may have towards Arab and MENA students. Just because we're not really addressing the problem. It's like, oh, it's gone, like it went away, when really no, we're just kind of sweeping it under the rug, when that's a really big problem. And this category would help further create an environment where students of Arab and MENA descent feel an identity and welcome, belonging. And as we mentioned, 60% of Arab and MENA students on a survey that they took from our center said that they have a problem with identifying with being white. And studies have demonstrated the link between student identity as well as recognition of identity and academic success. So while creating this category might not necessarily solve everything with totality and student experiences, it's definitely a right step it's a big step towards the right direction. And that's pretty much concludes my portion. Thank you for listening.
And thank you, Sarah. And thank you all for giving us the space to talk to you. And, we are happy to answer any questions now or later after the resolution is introduced.
Thank you. Thank you guys for your presentation. Does anybody have any questions? Not on the resolution because we'll get that later, but about the presentation? Okay, thank you guys. So the next order of business is ex officio reports. And may we please have the report of the advisor?
Yes, good evening. I just wanted to share with you all another reminder about student elections. So as of today, election materials have been made available online at go.uic.edu/student elections website. If you are considering running, please submit your intent to run prior to submitting the application. For more information regarding elections, please visit the student election website, which I will also put in the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Just a quick reminder, for all of the representatives that joined this year, if you want to be in USG next year, you will either have to run through elections, or you will have to reapply again in the fall. I would recommend elections because it guarantees your spot for 2 years. And if you apply through the usual application process, that would only keep your spot for 1 year. Kayla?
This is just for a question about like being a representative next year. Can we still reapply to be a representative if we're graduating in the fall? So like if we're not going to be here the whole year?
I think so, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. So we can move on to the next order of business, which is officer reports. May we please have the report of the president?
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, let me just quickly scroll through to get to where I'm at. Cool, yeah. Thanks. It's good to see everyone again. Thanks again for the presentation, Dr. Zatre. So I guess like I'll start with like some of our work that we've been able to do this past week with regards to like essential services and like policing. We had another meeting with the Police Safety Board, and we are putting some of the final touches for our proposal for this sort of behavioral crisis worker unit. Like I kind of presented on before, like a 24/7 program that would be able to provide services like mental health crisis counseling, de-escalation, harm reduction, and medical care, and even like smaller things like wellness checks and other sorts of social services. And we're almost done, and I'm happy to present on that next week if wanted. We're also planning this town hall with the Student Survey Coalition to essentially talk about student issues, everything ranging from mental health to grading to financial aid and things like that through the pandemic. And we're looking at next week, so the 10th. So if you're available, please save your calendars for that. We're currently still like analyzing data on this and looking through to see how we've done on the survey and seeing some of the trends that we have. One other thing that I wanted to mention that I think I left out of this report is that we like so with that data we've seen like a lot, especially around like financial need as well as like other sorts of support. So we're definitely going to try to take up a lot of these positions like with admin in the future. We also like had like a meeting with like the Mental Health Coalition last week, but I think some other folks are going to talk about that. So I'll just keep powering through. We're planning on partnering with UIC's like SFP. They reached out to do like a little social media campaign to talk about like COVID, like misinformation, especially around the vaccine. And I also got like a thank you note. So like thanks to everyone here who helped like sign and spread the petition with UIC, like UI health workers who didn't really have like a notion of how admin was going to reach some of their demands, and admin like just released their plan earlier today. So just again, a thanks to everyone who helped sign and spread that petition. It's also day one of Black History Month, and UIC has like a number of different programs and events that are going on. So if you have time, like please do attend. We're also still planning to have like our meeting with like the 5 councils and the chancellor on the 4th. So that's later this week. So if you have anything you want me to ask, like please do let me know and just email me or message me and I'll make sure to put that in there. One thing that we had talked about last week was the Provost Search Committee, and we had asked to make sure that there was some sort of student representation. And so our trustee, Jocelyn Bravo, is like going to be part of that committee. And in April, they're going to get back to us when they're interviewing candidates, and maybe a handful of us or 1 or 2 of us might be able to sit in and interview some of the candidates for next year's provost. Then I attended the Senate meeting last week on Thursday, and there were like several speakers, and I thought a lot of this information was important, so I just took a bunch of notes and I brought them to you. But yeah, so like we had like Tim Killian speak, and he talked about how they were sticking with like a flat tuition for this year as well as the next year. They had an increase in emergency financial aid, about $44 million, like going directly to UIC, and a third of that going towards student support. And a lot of that also includes money for housing as well as other needs. And so we're hoping to be able to like work our housing proposal in as part of this, as well as use some of our own funds to also like push forward this initiative. There's several other things that they mentioned, especially around like our important issues like tuition reduction and stuff. And they talked a lot about how they weren't able to still like make the amount of money that they lost during COVID. We had like the chancellor like speak as well, and he talked about how they're opening like vaccination stations at the pavilion. They're opening 40 of them. We were wondering about like mandating vaccination to like return to campus, but apparently that's like not legal, so they're not going down that route. But they could use it to require building access. So you need to like show, they have like an app right now. And essentially you would use that before you enter into like a UIC building. And today they just announced that they are moving to a hybrid model by the end of February. They're actually doing it by the end of next week. And so we took some time to like see if they might be able to like move back that like UPass deadline or other sorts of things that could really be helpful, because the deadline is tonight. But of course, if your class is moving online and you have no idea, you have until basically February 8th for your teachers to let you know whether or not your class will be online or in person. So we asked if they'd be willing to move that deadline back, but I don't think that's a possibility just because that's a deal that they've inked out with the CTA. We also asked to see if they'd be offering vaccinations to on-campus workers because they are covered under like phase 1B as sort of like support staff, but I'm not sure if that also like goes to students. So I'm hoping to hear back from like the chancellor's office on those things as well. And I guess like the last thing is like they're looking to still have like some sort of like hybrid session for the rest of the semester though. And the provost got a ton of questions on the grading policy, which a lot of students and faculty members don't necessarily think is particularly effective. And yeah, I think that's everything for me. Does anybody have any questions?
Are there any questions? All right, thank you. If there are no questions, then the president's report will be filed. Next, we have the report of the vice president.
Hi, Lawson, can I screen share real quick? Thank you. Okay. Okay, cool. Good evening, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well going into week 4. So again, from the Mental Health Coalition this week, we still have the survey open. So if you guys haven't yet sent that into like your class group chats or shared that with your friends, or taken it yourself, please just take a couple minutes to do it sometime this week. That would be extremely helpful. I think we're at around 150 responses right now, but I know that we can definitely increase that number quite a bit. And so the other things that we're working on while the survey is being distributed are still the same things that I touched upon last week, but kind of building the resource pool, and then also looking into campus care, and then also looking into like the proposal for a reading week or excused mental health days. And then we also talked about having perhaps another event with Joe Hermes and Dean Deanna, and other faculty that are involved in mental health to kind of cross-check to see if the things that they're doing are living up to the standards of like Illinois like state mandated law, but also just like matching the student needs that we're seeing as the survey data comes in. And then there was also a small group meeting with Dean Deanna. And personally, those meetings don't tend to be very fruitful. It's kind of just yeah, hypothesize what certain actions would like the effects that certain actions would have, but it still is nonetheless a space for us to kind of voice our concerns and tell them what we know we kind of want to see as students on campus. And so along those lines, kind of putting together a proper document that lists all the different recommendations we have, from making availability of like a counseling session available to like be seen online, to be able to do intakes through like the internet as opposed to having to call them, different recommendations like that. And yeah, that's basically everything new and updated for this week. Any questions? Cool, that's it from me then.
Thank you. If there are no questions, then the Vice President's report will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Treasurer.
Yeah, hey guys. Hope you guys are having a great week. So the Treasury Committee is still in contact with the UIC Library, and we're awaiting their response to finalize all the details regarding the charging stations before I present a resolution to the body. The resolution for the Young Democratic Socialists of America Conference funding will be proposed, and Wasan will be using his executive order so we can vote on it today. Matthew will be presenting a resolution for the LAF speaker fees funding, which will be proposed today. The Treasury Committee is in communication with the PRC Committee to ensure there's enough funding for all the USG merch and it goes smoothly. I have not received any information regarding the stipend for the Chief of Staff. I know that he hasn't been coming to meetings as of late, so I don't know how we're going to move forward with that as well. And all reimbursement requests have been sent and awaiting confirmation that they've been processed. So yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, then the report of the Treasurer will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Speaker. So for my report, I just have two things to talk about. One of them is the strike policy, which in the past week, I met with Matthew 2 times to discuss it. We actually got pretty far. We have a pretty good chunk, already started. We will still be making some revisions in the next maybe week or so, maybe 2 weeks. We'll see. But we're trying to make a very detailed guide for how a strike and impeachment should be handled, and it might take a little bit of time. But because we're building it from scratch, we'd like to hear your opinions. So if you have any thoughts or any suggestions, let us know. Um, you're welcome to message us, email us, send us a group me, whatever it is. Reach out. And then also let me know if you would like to have access to the document that we're working on. I can also share access with you so you can see it for yourself. And secondly, the second meeting that I had was with Daniela to work on a resolution about cabinet member attendance. And the reason why is because last semester we had some cabinet members who were absent a little too often, and there isn't really any regulation on cabinet member attendance. So, we would like for all of us cabinet members to lead by example and be present at meetings. So that's why we are proposing this. We're concerned that this semester the issue might keep happening because there has been some issues already, and that's why we are proposing the resolution tonight and hoping to get it passed tonight. Um, and then the resolution also tackles the issue of officer reports not being turned in on time, because that also hinders USG's work. And lastly, the resolution might be only temporary until the strike policy is finished. But however, because we are not finished with the strike policy yet, and it needs to be passed urgently, that's why we're presenting it tonight. And yeah, that's pretty much all from my report. And just actually, just one quick note. I wanted to remind you guys, um, for all of new representatives. I know I've said this already, but I needed to sink in. All new representatives from this year, if you want to be in USG next year, you either have to apply again in the fall for only 1 year, or you have to do the election process. And if you get elected, you get your spot reserved for 2 years. So I would highly encourage you to go through the election process. If you are confused and you don't know what's going on, you want some answers, please reach out. I know it's confusing. It was very confusing for me as well as a freshman, and as a first year student in USG, it was very confusing. So, if you guys have any questions, please reach out. I'm always happy to help, always happy to explain anything you're confused about. Um, and yeah, I guess that concludes my report. I yield for questions.
I have two questions about the deadline. If we're submitting resolutions, should we still submit them by Friday midnight or Saturday 6 p.m.?
The deadline for both for resolutions, for officer reports, and guest speakers, is Saturday at 6.
Okay. And for how we release the application forms again, when is the deadline to send you the names for people who emailed us?
So I'm actually not really involved with that this semester. I think Wasan would be a better person to ask.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was planning on actually closing the application at the end of this meeting. So like at around like 8, and then just emailing out everyone who's submitted something so far.
Okay.
That was the last thing I was supposed to say. I forgot to say it in my report. But yeah, we're going to be hearing people give speeches next week, those who applied to be a representative.
Okay.
Awesome, good to know. Thank you. Um, any other questions? Okay. If not, then the speaker's report will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Chief of Staff. Is the Chief of Staff present or anybody reading the report? Okay, it doesn't seem like it. So then next we have the report of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee Chair.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. So it's going to be a quick report. I met with GSC and Outlaw to finalize plans for the Know Your Rights series. We're having the first event of this semester on student employees' rights. It's going to be on February 10th, 5 p.m. We're still waiting on GEO to confirm with us. And then like the time and the day will be confirmed. Our second event is going to be about minorities' rights, and we're still planning for it. Well, it's going to be sometime in March. And I finalized the resolution for the MENA campaign. It's going to be presented today. And I'm still finalizing ideas for the Be Aware campaign. And we'll be collaborating with other organizations on campus to generate ideas for it. I'm hoping to launch it in the next 2 weeks. And our committee meeting is now on Tuesday, 6 p.m. And the meeting went well. We discussed all of our upcoming events and we brainstormed new ideas and solutions for our current projects. A special thanks to my committee members for Nina for attending our meeting with GSC and working to create advertising materials for our next event, the Minorities' Rights event. And thanks to Kyla. I'm so sorry, I keep pronouncing your name wrong all the time. Thank you.
Kayla.
Thank you for stepping in to take responsibility and bringing back the life to our newsletter, which will be released soon. And thanks to Sarah for providing the committee with research and ideas on impactful projects. Sarah actually went out of her way and gave us actual research and numbers for Title IX projects. And lastly, an announcement. Sarah will be our new deputy chair because Rohan has left USG for the semester. So that's it. I yield for questions.
Congratulations, Sarah. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
All right, if there are no questions, then the report of the chairwoman of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Legislative Affairs Committee Chair.
Hello, hello. Happy Black History Month. I hope everybody is having a good day and isn't completely snowed in. Earlier today, we had to dig my roommate's car out of the snow, so that was an experience, but hope everybody is safe and warm. I do, let's start this off with the sexual assault action items. So last week, me and Misty, or Misty and I, went to a meeting with the head director of the Office of Access and Equity, and then a couple other people that I think the representative from Title IX, and then one other person, I don't necessarily remember their position, but it was of those two factions. We talked to them. They're very interested in learning how we can, from a student standpoint, how we can make the process of filing and going through with a case that is reported, making it more accessible and equitable, and just also, I guess, more trauma informed. There has been an issue with the federal government and the Title IX regulations that those put on our, or UIC specifically Title IX, but we're trying to hopefully in the coming maybe month hear more from the federal government and see if they're going to be reworking some of those. But we really focused on the paperwork that is sent out to survivors or people who report cases. And we want to make sure that those are accessible to people who may not speak English as their first language. We want to make sure that people feel safe and comfortable going to the Title IX office. So we're just going to be looking over that, looking over the documents that they've sent us, and the LAC committee or Legislative Affairs Committee will be looking over it within this week, and then potentially meeting with OAE next week, but we haven't had a date. So the date is TBD for our next meeting, but they're very interested in meeting with us again and making sure that we're, I guess, have a say in what's going to be happening and if anything changes. I think Hannah said basically everything that I would say about the Mental Health Coalition. Things are still being distributed. I've been sending emails to different offices and different people's listservs and seeing if they'll be able to distribute those. If you guys have any listservs that you're on that you have access to or anything like that, if there's a way that you have that you can share the survey, definitely let Hannah and I know. Sorry, I can't speak today, but definitely let Hannah or I know so we can reach out, or you can reach out for them and we can send you some documents that we've been using previously. As Hannah said again, we met with Dean Deanna and the director of the counseling center. That meeting, I think she said everything that I would have said about that meeting, but yeah, I think we're meeting again towards the end of this month or next month. There was also the Illinois Board of Higher Education meeting that was on Friday. It was very much so intro to the new school semester, talking about committees forming, talking about what the plans are for this semester. So nothing too crazy. And then I also met with Nikki, who is the head of the Student Leadership and Civic Engagement office. We met to talk about, just in general, I asked for some advice on the offices of access and equity, and we also talked about school reopenings, but the school really kind of does its own thing and doesn't really inform much of the staff. So we got that same email this week, but yeah. On to my committee meeting that was on Friday. We talked about the meeting with the Office of Access and Equity. There's so many vowels, I cannot, but we talked about Title IX. We're going to be working through those documents. As I said previously, we're going to be working through those together. We're also going to be talking about UIC dining services and a collaboration with the restaurants and I guess maybe potentially coffee shops that are around UIC. maybe also looking at some of the tutoring centers, seeing how UIC can benefit those that are around campus. But that's set for the middle of the semester. So that's going to be brought up again at that time. And then Matthew's survey goes live today. So thank you so much, Matthew, for working on that. It is out. I'm going to ask you to put it in chat so people can go fill it out. It shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. I think it's a little shorter than the mental health survey that we all asked you to take last week. God, weeks are going by so fast now. But and then if I can just add one more thing to my report. There is a federal internship panel on Friday. If there is anyone interested, please let me know. I got reached out to via a friend of mine that's going to be there and going to be facilitating. So if you're interested in doing something like that, definitely let me know and I can send your contact information to my contact. But yeah, that's about it. And I yield for questions.
Are there any questions?
Can I add something
Go for
in
it.
regards to my survey? So this survey is again about the centralized platform for UIC. If you don't remember what it is, it's basically centralizing communications into one platform as well as resources. So in that way, it's not hectic finding what you need on UIC. So everything will be accessible in one place. It'll be on your phone, on a laptop, anywhere. And it'll be great for engagement with other students and finding what you need. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, just a super quick comment, like regarding surveys. All the surveys and stuff just kind of like go away at the end of the Zoom call. So I was wondering like if maybe y'all could just send it, or I can just copy and paste and I'll just send a quick follow-up email and I'll send like Hannah yours as well. And I'll send the student elections one more time, just like I did last week.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. If not, then the report of the chairwoman of the Legislative Affairs Committee will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Public Relations Committee Chair.
Hello, everyone. So the Public Relations Committee has mainly been uploading videos on YouTube and then correcting the numbering. So today would be meeting 2, we corrected that. We have updated the website with the new member application, taken it down, and then started to advertise student elections on our socials as well. Then on the website, we've also updated our new chair of student affairs is info on the website. And our main initiative as of right now is working on the promotional items, which we will update you soon as the days are coming by. That's all I have so far. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? I have a quick question, Aitana. So I'm seeing on the YouTube channel that there are a few videos missing. So for example, it goes from video 3 and then jumps to video 6. And then there's also video 10 missing. Is that something that you're currently working on?
I have tried looking for those videos, but I unfortunately do not have them in my computer. So I'm gonna ask, I was actually going to email you if I can have access to your cloud, just in case.
Okay, I will check that. I think it deletes them after a certain time, but I will take a look and I will let you know. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, if not, then the report of the chairwoman of the Public Relations Committee will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Student Affairs Committee Chair.
Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So we've finalized the meeting time. So we'll be meeting Fridays at 4 p.m. fortnightly. So if you'd like to join our meetings, please let me know and I'll send you an invite. And our first meeting is this Friday. So this week I spoke with Rose, the director of the Engineering Career Center, and she has decided to help me connect with some professors who have on-campus research projects that students don't know about, because these are generally not advertised and these are paid positions. And I've also started creating a spreadsheet with all these on-campus internships I've found, and there's quite a lot that are not advertised, surprisingly. And I met with Matthew and we had a discussion on our goals and plans for the semester. And hopefully we'll be working together on the textbook affordability campaign that will be spearheaded by Matthew and Illinois Perks, amongst other projects. My goals for this week are to reach out to the remaining colleges regarding their on-campus internships and also offices, because some independent offices have their own on-campus internships. And I'll be meeting this week with the director of the career development for LAS, Elizabeth. And something else I'll be doing is I'd actually want to reach out to the Office of the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs to learn more about the fall 2017 changes to the GPA recalculation policy. I know to the best of my knowledge that prior to fall 2017, students who had like a D or an F and retook a course and got a better grade in that course, they could request to have the D or Fs excluded from their GPAs, but following fall 2017, students can no longer initiate those requests. It's at the discretion of the, I guess, colleges or the academic advisor. I don't think that's very fair considering the time we're living in. But yeah, I yield for questions.
Thank you, Tago. Are there any questions?
This is more of a comment, especially on that last point. Like obviously, like I'm very much in favor of that. And like we've asked, like once very recently, I think like 2 weeks ago for the first time, and Provost Poser said she would check back on that. She really never got back to me. So I think like one thing we might as well do is just go ahead and write something like as a formal proposal and send that to them and see what they say, because I think it'd be better to just have something like in writing and formal like how we usually do. So I'll definitely like circle back with you on that later whenever you have time.
Great, thanks.
I have a quick question. So for it's pretty much on like the grading policy. Did they stop that for a certain incoming class, or they just like stopped it for everyone, like no matter what?
I think it's everyone because it's from fall 2017. I don't think anyone, let's see, I guess the average time is 4 years. So maybe like from 2020, those people won't really be affected.
Yeah, they replaced it with a new method where the college does the GPA recalculation for you at the end of your graduation term. So if a GPA recalculation would actually affect your GPA, they'll make that decision and they'll do it for you. But if it doesn't, then they will leave it there. But it's up to the discretion of the deans and other staff members.
Any other questions? All right, if not, then the report of the chairwoman of the Student Affairs Committee will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Campus Life Committee Chair.
Hello, everyone. Hope you had a great week. We decided on a time for our committee meeting for this semester, which will be Tuesdays from 6:15 to 7:15. And if you ever want to drop in to talk about an initiative or just like to hang out, feel free to contact me and I can send you the Zoom link. So this week, the Wellness Center emailed me on an event that they're hoping to collaborate with us on, which is how to prep for an exam. They kind of did something similar last semester that we also partnered with them on. So last semester they had over 100 students register, and it generally received really positive reception from the student body. So they're doing it again. It'll be held in March or early April, and the times they gave were 4 to 5:15 and 5 to 6:15. And they asked us to select 3 to 4 undergraduate students to be on the panel. And so if you were a panelist, you would be answering questions from students and giving advice on studying and exam prep. And it would be a great leadership experience. And it's an excellent way to represent USG and kind of let people know that we're out here. So like generally we're looking for students with like a good GPA, good study habits, and if you're like comfortable talking to an audience,
that would be ideal. So please let me know if you're interested in becoming a panelist, and I can provide more information. So that's it on that. We also had a meeting with Mental Health Coalition. Hannah basically covered it, but I'm working on brainstorming for an event where we can get more information from Dr. Hermes and the Counseling Center in general, hopefully in the form of like a town hall or something in that format. And lastly, I had a meeting with Matthew to talk a little bit about initiatives for both CLC and his initiatives this semester. And hopefully we can work together on his textbook initiative. And that's it from me. I yield for questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, if no questions, then the report of the chairwoman of the Campus Life Committee will be filed. The next order of business is old business, and there is no old business. So the next order of business is new business. And first, we will begin with Resolution 2021-S2-600. Bayan, would you like to introduce this?
Yeah, of course. I have a quick question. There will be like appendix of student testimonials and another one of frequently asked questions. Should I be reading it?
I think just the resolution is okay. The
Okay.
appendix you can just browse over and tell us the general idea of it. But I don't think that it's necessary to read. Just the
Okay, and
resolution.
another quick question. Should it be at 600 or 601?
Have you done another resolution
No,
this
this is the first.
semester? Yeah, 600 is fine.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll be reading it right now. Let me pull it up. Okay, so this is resolution 2021 S2600 USG support for the MENA campaign. The first reading is today, and we will be voting today. So I encourage you, if you have any questions, to ask them, because Dr. Zatari and Sarah are here to answer all your questions. Chief sponsor is myself. Whereas it is necessary to make students feel valuable regardless of their ethnic background, the undergraduate student government calls for implementing Middle East and North Africa MENA as a new race category across the University of Illinois system. And whereas the Arab American Cultural Center plans to launch a MENA campaign calling for the establishment of the category as a new race category and has been interviewing students who identify as MENA to hear their concerns and collect information on why it is important for the University of Illinois system to implement this change. And whereas many MENA students find it a problem to be classified as white because they do not receive white privileges, and it prohibits them from applying to scholarships and internship opportunities that give advantages to minority students. The breakdown of UIC undergraduate student enrollment by race and ethnicity, according to the Office of Vice Provost for Diversity website, is 26% white, 34% Latinx, 20% Asian American, 8% African American, 5% other, and 7% international. Students from the Middle East and North Africa are considered a minority group, yet not given the right to be classified accordingly, which prohibits them from taking advantage of the benefit that comes with minority status offered by the universities and elsewhere. And whereas the Arab American population in the United States has been dramatically increasing since 1980, according to a study conducted by the Journal of Immigrant and Minority Health, found that Arab American population has increased from 600,000 in 1980 to 1,189,731 in 2000, which makes it a larger than many subgroups of other populations recognized by the US Census Bureau. That number has continued to increase. In 2012, the Arab American Institute estimated that there were 3,665,789 total Arab Americans in the United States. And whereas universities across the United States started to recognize the importance of implementing such a category for their MENA students to help them enhance their college experience and make them feel visible. For example, in 2019, Rackham Graduate School in Ann Arbor, Michigan announced that they will be including Middle Eastern and North African identity as an option on their applications. A campaign named We Exist was launched to educate the university and students on what it could mean for Arab and Middle Eastern and North African communities to be finally recognized as MENA. Additionally, in the year 2014, the University of California system implemented the Southwest Asian North African SWANA category to include students of Middle Eastern and North African ancestry. And whereas students will not feel a true sense of belonging at the university if they are continued to be represented as white, the Arab American Cultural Center feels a responsibility to take action when presented with students' concerns for their cultural identity not being recognized. Including MENA as an identity will finally give students, faculty, and staff members who identify as MENA the opportunity to feel a sense of belonging promised by a university that values diversity and inclusion of all ethnicities. Then let it be resolved that the undergraduate student government endorses MENA campaign, which will be launched by the Arab American Cultural Center to call for the implementation of the MENA category as an identity across the University of Illinois system. USG will be supporting the campaign by reposting infographics made by the center across all social media accounts and staying in contact with the center to best assist during the process. USG also endorses and calls for the implementation of the MENA category across all of the University of Illinois system's official applications and documentations due to the importance it represents to a great population of students, faculty, and staff members. Appendix A is a list of student testimonials, and Appendix B is a list of frequently asked questions about the importance of implementing a MENA category. Let it be further resolved that it is time for Middle Eastern and North African students, faculty, and staff to be recognized for their cultural background, which will only be possible with the inclusion of MENA category as a race identity on all official applications and documentation collected by the University of Illinois system. Okay, and if you scroll down, it'll just be the appendix A and B. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the appendix. So for A, this was collected by Sarah Hassan, or Hassan, I'm sorry. She interviewed a lot of MENA students over the summer, and they were talking a lot about how they felt that their identity is being erased, a lot of the things they heard during the presentation, and a lot of students experienced the same experience Sarah had with scholarships and opportunities, not being able to apply for those and not being able to get them. I'm gonna read to you one of what someone said. Hold on.
Yeah, just let me know where to scroll and I'll.
Okay. We can scroll to I'll just do the first page. I mean, it's all very important. So Mohammed Hassan says, the government considers my family to be white. We laugh at the absurdity because we do not look the part. If the only school in the US that provides an Arab American Cultural Center to its students doesn't provide a MENA option to check off, then proper steps aren't being taken to have people like myself be represented and counted for. I am not white and I don't have a European sounding name. When people think of my name, they don't assume that I am white. I just want representation. It is a means of creating one more category so more students could feel like they're closer to the place they identify with. Having a MENA category would make me feel heard. And another one, Muna, who was also part of our meeting today, she says, I'm really thankful for the Arab American Cultural Center, but also it's not enough. MENA students need a lot more resources on campus, and we deserve to have those resources. The Arab American Cultural Center is a cultural center, not a resource center, and those burdens should not be placed on it. We definitely need a MENA category. The experiences of Arabs and other minorities in the Middle East are unique, like any other racial category that is documented in the census as its own thing. We deserve to have federal funding for our community and services. We should have had this category a long time ago. So, and a lot of students are talking about their experiences. So I read all of this and I encourage all of you to read through it. Appendix B talks about frequently asked questions, like if people asked you why this category is important, you could talk about it. You could read it. Okay.
Okay. All right. So, I'm gonna open up the floor for discussion. So, does anybody have any comments or questions regarding this resolution? Just to remind you all that this is expected to be voted on tonight. So if you have any comments or questions, let us know.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Specifically, I mean, like, obviously, like, like, I love this proposal. I love how it's written, and I love the campaign as well. I think it's a great cause. I was wondering, like, what you wanted to do next, really, like where you wanted to go. If you wanted us to help, like, refer this to someone, or if you wanted us to send this proposal somewhere, or if, like, you already like had all of that covered.
Do you want me to answer, Bayan?
Yeah, Dr. Zatari, if you could.
So we have been, I've been having a lot of conversations with UIC administration, and some things have already been underway, but there are a lot of sort of stumbling blocks. So at this point, we are compiling a proposal to be able to submit to, higher up in the university administration chain. And so we are planning to include the testimonies and hopefully this resolution as well. And we can, assuming it passes, obviously, and we'd be happy to, provide you with some, emails or names, like in terms of if you'd like to take the initiative as well as USG to directly do that. We've drafted a solidarity statement that we're hoping to garner a lot of signatures to over the next few, weeks, maybe a month. Our plan is to keep the campaign open because we're also using it as a public education aspect. So we want the UIC campus as well as, a lot of our work is at UIC and some of it at UIUC, but we want the campus to really understand, what does this mean? Who are these people? What is this community? Why is this significant? So we're planning a number of public events as well as presentations to different, to hopefully the diversity chairs committees and others. So, and at the end, we will be putting together that packet and providing it to university administration. So at that point, we'd be happy to share more specifically areas that you can contribute if you'd like to. Definitely. Thank you for that question.
That sounds awesome. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I guess I had a really quick question just based on the, I've filled out surveys where I will have to select white or Middle Eastern, and then also have to select like my different counterpart to, like, I guess emphasize that I like am not white, because the implication of white or Middle Eastern is implying that I am white because I'm Middle Eastern, and I am a person of color, so that didn't really, I guess, work out. So I'm just wondering if this would be inclusive, or this resolution and this project as a whole would be inclusive of removing that or Middle Eastern part and also making it just its own section within surveys.
Yeah, currently the way things function at UIC is that student demographic data gets recorded in the application process, and that's in the Common App that the university now uses. The Common App is its own, private company, right, that a lot of universities across the United States uses. And it usually, or recently, they created some shifts. So you are required to choose one of the five, and you don't have an option to choose either or. So you have folks from the Middle East or the Arab world, etc., have to choose white. But once they choose white, they can choose of European descent, or of Middle East descent, or other. They have three options. And that data the university does nothing with, so it just sits with the application. It doesn't move to the banner system where all of our records are included, right? And then, on a separate kind of sphere, there's like the student surveys that the university administers, and those have varied. A couple years ago, they used to do this entering student survey on a regular basis, and if you look at the website, a lot of those have been published there. And similarly, they would record the five racial categories of the census. But the last one in 2019, because of advocacy from the cultural centers, they added a MENA category to the survey. And so they have the data. Unfortunately, that survey is not published on the website. I have the report, but it's not published. And that since then, they've stopped doing that survey. Then there are a few other surveys. And so it's kind of been some level haphazard, depending on who is actually doing the survey and what they think is important. There isn't like a university-wide decision on these different kinds of categories. And so I've also been meeting with the student affairs as well as the Office of Institutional Research to find a way to ensure that it would get streamlined. Our goal is that, we would have that separate category and there wouldn't be a white category. Now, we understand the university is going to need to report to the federal government on the five categories. And so from our perspective, well, they can just then add it into the MENA, add the MENA into the white in the reporting process. But for like the purposes of the campus itself and of like data and information that we share publicly about the campus, we would have a more layered and nuanced analysis. So just having the MENA category would not prevent the university from still being able to report on the white categorization, per the federal government guidelines, until hopefully that eventually changes. But that's kind of where things are at right now. I mean, we don't really know what they will do, but it's part of why we have the campaign. But that's our goal, is that it would replace it, so you wouldn't be choosing either or. You wouldn't have to choose white then choose MENA, or have to choose white.
Can I also add something onto that real quick? Because with what Dr. Zaatari said, like if we do have the MENA category, but we're under white, that kind of defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it? Because like we said earlier, being identified as white is a problem. And so that's why we're aiming to not have like that subcategory, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. If not, then Wasan, feel free to.
Yeah, I'd like to move Resolution 2021-S2-600 to be an executive order and to be voted on tonight itself.
All right, so the president has requested this be an executive order, meaning that we are voting on it right now. So all those in favor of Resolution 2021-S2-600, please say aye.
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 All that oppose, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? All right, this resolution has passed. Congratulations. So next we will be going over Resolution 2021-S2-801. Anshu, would you like to present it?
Yeah, thank you, Daisy. So chief sponsor is me, and then co-sponsors Deputy Treasurer Mohammed Haq, Representative Matt Silverage, and Representative Megan Bai. So, whereas the undergraduate student government has allocated funds in its budget to give to external organizations to benefit undergraduate students in various organizations, whereas the Young Democratic Socialists of America is a UIC registered club on campus and is asking for $150 for 5 freshman club members to go to their national conference held virtually on Friday, February 26th through Sunday, February 28th. Whereas in previous years, the YDSA has attended this conference, members learn organizing and leadership skills essential to the club's ongoing growth and development. Let it be resolved that the undergraduate student government will pay the $30 registration fee for 5 members of the YDSA, subsidizing the cost to attend YDSA's National Winter Conference.
All right. Are there any comments or questions regarding this resolution?
Yeah, just because of the nature of which this org needs the funding by, I was planning on also issuing executive order to vote on this tonight. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, before we do that, I would have one thing that I would like to amend. So in the last sentence, let it be resolved. It says we'll pay the $30 registration fee for 5 members. However, it does not mention the total sum. So I would like to make an amendment that says the undergraduate student government will pay the $30 registration fee for 5 members of the YDSA, comma, for a total of $150, comma, subsidizing the cost to attend YDSA's National Winter Conference. So the amendment is to add to the resolution to say that it is for a total of $150. So we're going to vote for the amendment. All those in favor of adding this amendment, please say aye.
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 All that oppose, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? Okay, so this amendment has passed. Are there any other comments or questions, thoughts about this resolution? All right, Wasan?
I would like to use an executive order to move that resolution 2021-S2-801 is voted on tonight.
Okay, the president has requested an executive order, so that means that we'll be voting on this tonight. So all those in favor of resolution 2021-S2-801, please say aye.
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 All that oppose, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? All right, the ayes have it. This resolution has now passed. Next, we have resolution 2021-S2-100. Can we have Matt Silverage presented, please?
Yeah, I'm going to be presenting this resolution today. So could you scroll down, Daisy? Resolution 2021 S2-100. And so with this is for LAF, which is an organization at UIC. I'm at Salvaraj and the chief sponsor. The co-sponsors are our treasurer Anshu, deputy treasurer Mohammed, and representative Megan. So whereas LAF is a UIC student organization that is dedicated to promoting student well-being and mental health through the practice of laughter yoga, and whereas their work brings together people of different disciplines, backgrounds, and educational experiences on our college campus, alleviates stress and improves overall quality of life by providing a host of psychological and physiological benefits. And whereas LAF will be holding their Premier Care Week event on March 7th, 2021, with guest speaker Dr. Madan Kataria, where they need $500 worth of funding for speaker expenses. Then let it be resolved, the undergraduate student government of the University of Illinois at Chicago will provide the $500 of funding needed by LAF in order to make their event as successful as possible. Let it be further resolved that this organization stands to better the undergraduate experience of all students on campus, and by supporting this organization, that goal will be met. Any questions?
Thank you. I open up the floor for discussion. Any comments or questions regarding this resolution? And just to confirm, this will be voted on next week, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any comments or questions?
If we want to attend this event, a fee.
No, this would be completely free to all UIC students.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, if there are no comments or questions, then we will be voting on this next week. So you will still be able to make amendments then if needed. Next, we have Resolution 2021-S2-900, and I will be reading this one. This is titled Cabinet Member Attendance. Whereas the USG cabinet members shall lead by example and convey that attendance is essential for a functioning government, and whereas officer reports are crucial for keeping record of USG matters and it ensures that cabinet members fulfill their duties, and whereas cabinet members receive a stipend for both, then let it be resolved that a new point H and subpoint 1 outlined below will be added to the bylaws under Article 12, Section 1. Point H, upon a cabinet member's accumulation of 2 unexcused absences, 3 consecutive excused absences, or 3 total absences from the House per semester, the Speaker of the House shall consider the cabinet member to have resigned from their seat on the grounds of nonfeasance. Subpoint 1, a cabinet member who does not turn in their officer report at all shall receive 1/2 of an unexcused absence, and a cabinet member who turns in their officer report after the deadline, unless an extension has been granted prior, shall receive 1/4 of an unexcused absence. Let it be further resolved that these amendments are necessary in order to ensure that cabinet members lead by example and complete their duties diligently and frequently. I open up the floor for discussion. I'd like to hear your opinions on this. And this is also something that I would like to vote on tonight. So if you guys have any questions, comments, let us know.
So I just had like a really quick in support thing. This has been a long time coming. I remember when we like changed the requirements for members and the attendance for that. Like the immediate follow up was, okay, well, what are we doing about e-board members? Well, maybe it wasn't immediate because we like kind of coasted through that semester and then realized we don't have anything for the e-board members, so that definitely needs to be something that we do. So I do just want to be like in support for this. It needs to happen. Cabinet members should be expected. Like we're getting paid, so we're the people that need to be here. Like we should be here by whatever is required of us. And if we can't be here, then like it needs to be communicated, basically. But yeah, thank you for actually putting this in a resolution, Daisy.
Yeah, no, thank you for your support. It means a lot. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I remember for last semester we had voted on the resolution for, I think it requires like e-board members if they were unable to make it to the Monday meetings, then they would be able to see the recorded meetings, or they would have a meeting the next day or like another specific date that they can make it to the meeting. So does that resolution overlap with this resolution that you're introducing today?
Not really, because that was the International Caucus resolution. The International Caucus was because we had a member who was abroad and was not able to attend the meetings. These meetings, at this point this semester, I don't believe there's anybody who is joining internationally, so there will be no need for the International Caucus. So it's either you attend the meeting or you don't attend the meeting.
Okay,
That makes
thank
sense.
you. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, Wasan?
Yeah, I would like to use another executive order to move that resolution 2021-S2-900 is voted upon tonight.
Okay, there has been an executive order, so we'll be voting on this resolution tonight. All those in favor of adopting resolution 2021-S2-900, please say aye.
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 All that oppose, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? All right, the ayes have it. This resolution has passed. Thank you, guys. And let's see. Sorry, let me scroll back up. So the next order of business is items for discussion. Does anybody have any items for discussion? Okay. If there are no items for discussion, then we can move on to the next order of business, which is announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
Yes, I have.
Sorry.
You can go ahead first.
Okay, so I'm part of the pre-dental care project, and we're currently doing a Valentine's Day fundraiser. So if you know anyone who's on campus living in the dorms, then you can basically send them a candygram, and I believe it's $3.50 each. And the money goes towards delivering dental supplies to lower income areas and children in lower income areas. And so I can post the link for the form that you can fill out to send the candygrams, and I'll also post the Instagram account so you can check out our organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, go ahead.
Yeah, so my announcement is on the textbook affordability petition we have going on. So basically, we're all students here, so I'm sure we've spent a lot of money on textbooks already this semester and in past years. So this petition is just showing support that you would like to see the administration use open source textbooks and save us some money. So I'll post it in the chat. It takes like less than 5 seconds, I'd say, to fill out this petition. All you have to do is just add your name to show. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Or if not, are there any other announcements?
Just once again, please like send me your links, your emails, your surveys, anything. I'll just send it in a quick follow-up right after this. I mean, I know Daniela also has this on minutes and stuff too.
We're doing a picture tonight.
Tonight? I don't think you guys want to, but we don't have to.
It's not ready.
Okay.
It's okay. Sorry for putting you on the spot.
What if we did a picture, everyone turns off their screen?
The opposite of a picture?
Yeah.
That's
I'm
all.
just kidding.
Okay. Any other announcements?
Oh, I do. I just want to say today's the first day of Black History Month. That's a good month to celebrate.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Any other announcements?
If anybody is interested in joining a service fraternity, my fraternity Alpha Phi Omega is hosting Rush for this week and next week. If that's something you'd be interested in doing, we host a lot of service events week to week. we also kind of like build community and also make sure that like any service that we can be doing on campus and in our surrounding communities at this time is being done. So if that is something that is of interest, definitely DM me, text me, whatever mode of contact. You can email me, you can send me a messenger pigeon. If you are interested, just let me know and I can send you, I'll put you on our listserv and I can send you the links to our events for this week.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, other announcements? Going once, going twice. Okay, so if there are no more announcements, then we can move on to the next order of business, which is adjournment. Would anyone like to motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, there has been a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please say aye.
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 All that opposed, please say nay. Does anybody abstain? All right, the ayes have it. This meeting is now adjourned at 7:40 p.m.